Hello, everyone. This is Henny Espinosa with Just Wish Foundation. Today, we are delighted that we are joined by a young woman who has inspired so many people, not only with her beauty and with her grace, but also with her grit and determination to win, no matter the obstacles that come her way. Joining us at Just Wish Foundation is the newly crowned Miss Dallas Teen 2022, Alison Appleby. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you for
us.
having me.
So, Allison, tell us a little bit about your background and your upbringing in Texas. What were your interests growing up, and was beauty pageants one of them?
So beauty pageants was never part of like the plan. I moved to Texas when I was 5. Sorry, I was asking my mom to make sure. I moved here when I was about 5, and I actually grew up riding horses, so complete opposite of beauty pageants. And I became an archer a couple years later and joined the Junior Olympics. Also never really had beauty pageants in the plan, but I signed up randomly, and I guess now they are in the plan.
I understand that it was actually the Miss Dallas Teen was actually your first pageant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And now you're Miss Dallas Teen and you're on to bigger things. But let's talk about what you went through health-wise growing up. So I understand that you struggled with autism and also with epilepsy. So tell us about that and how you coped growing up.
I was diagnosed with autism at a really young age. I was actually 2 when I was diagnosed, but I wasn't diagnosed with epilepsy until I was 16. So I was diagnosed at 16. I was misdiagnosed my whole life. They thought it was just anxiety because my seizures are just what's called focal seizures or absence seizures, where I stare off into space. So they aren't necessarily what you'd expect, where a grand mal seizure where you're shaking. It's just you stare into space. It doesn't look like anything much. So I wasn't diagnosed until I was 16. Like I said, a doctor actually sat down with me. It was a psychiatrist, not a neurologist. And within 5 minutes of talking to me, she was like, so how long have you had seizures? And I was like, I've never had a seizure before. What do you mean? And she explained to me, she was like, you have epilepsy. So I had a really hard time growing up though, because I was misdiagnosed. I dealt with teachers that didn't understand. I was bullied by kids because I was weird. I seemed to not pay attention in class. I kept straight A's the entire time, but it seemed like I wasn't paying attention or I was zoning out. And I was the weird kid because of it.
Tell us the importance of having a service dog. What does Brady do for you? When did you have him? And how essential is he in your day-to-day life?
Brady has totally saved my life. So when I was diagnosed with epilepsy, they talked about finding a good medicine, and it takes years. And so far, I have yet to find a medicine that works 100%, but Brady definitely helps me with what a medicine can't do. So he alerts me of seizures about 45 minutes beforehand. He's still in training though, so eventually he will be able to alert well before that. And he can read my blood sugar and let me know when I'm hungry, which is part of my trigger for seizures. He can also tell me if I'm stressed or if I am anxious or if my autism is kind of kicking up. And if I get overwhelmed, I will have a seizure, so he helps with that. You can probably hear him breathing right now because he's sitting with me. But he's essential in my day-to-day life. He has helped me so many times, and he has saved my life so many times. And here, I'm gonna get him up. Come here.
He wants to say hi, probably.
Yes.
Hi, Brady. Oh my God.
Brady,
how are you? I heard he stole the show also at the beauty pageant.
Oh, he totally did.
Let's talk about that. Kind of how you got into it. I mean, take us back to that moment when I guess somebody told you that people with disabilities cannot join
Yeah,
beauty
so
pageants. What was that like for you? Take us back to that moment.
I've actually been getting a lot of hate comments for this, saying it wasn't real or anything like that. So I do appreciate being able to share this part. But I was sitting at a gala, it was a charity function, and they actually had a fashion show that I was modeling in as part of the charity function. And someone at my table was talking to me, and she was like, yeah, you should. She was also competing. She was competing for Miss Dallas. And she was talking to me about competing for Miss Teen. And it was a basic conversation, pretty just casual. I was just making small talk, and a lady that was across the table from us, who I didn't know, who had old-fashioned thinking, she was kind of ignorant, told me, well, I see you have a service dog and you shouldn't be doing pageants because you're not going to win. Pageant girls don't have service dogs. And I am disabled, and she did bring up that with a disability you wouldn't be able to win a pageant because pageant girls don't have disabilities. Mm-hmm. So right then and there, I didn't even ask my mom. I just signed up for the pageant. Uh-huh. It was 3 weeks before the pageant that I actually signed up. And again, I had no pageant training. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, we'll see what happens, but I have to do this now because a lady told me I couldn't. So I did. You wanted
to make a point.
Yeah.
I understand you weren't even looking to, like, you went into it not really thinking I'm gonna win this, but it was more of like, I wanted to prove something, right?
Yes.
Or did you go into it thinking I'm gonna win this and prove?
Oh no. So my whole expectation was, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna prove to this lady that I can do it with a service dog. And that was my whole goal, was to just go, like, just show up. I did not expect to win at all. I was thrilled when they called me as top 3. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, that's amazing. I got top 3. When they called the top 2, I was like, that's great. This girl's gonna win, but I'm on stage. That's so fun. Didn't realize that I actually won for a hot second. I was cheering for the other girl. Uh-huh. I did not realize that the first words that came out of my mouth were actually, oh no, because I was not expecting on winning. I was in shock because I went into this with no intentions of winning.
What was that like when you entered and you had to inform the organizers that you have a service dog? Were they accommodating? Did you run into challenges?
They were amazing with it. They were actually like, I was worried about it at first because I have had issues with people accepting Brady, but everyone there was amazing about it. I was just expecting him to sit in the audience with my parents or something. I wasn't going to take him on stage, but in rehearsal, I had a handler there for him who was holding him, and he broke away from the handler and came and stood by me, and we all decided, we were like, you know what, Brady's not going to get through this pageant if I'm not with him. Mm-hmm. And I might not get through this pageant without him. So we all made an executive decision to put him in the pageant and put him on stage. And I was terrified because I didn't have any plans of doing that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how it was going to go. Brady's never been on stage. And as far as I was concerned, he's afraid of when people applaud. Uh-huh. He gets nervous. I was like, this is not going to be good. This is actually going to be very bad. But he did amazing. I'm not quite sure what changed. He was an angel the whole time. He was backstage with me. All of the girls competing were amazing about it. He went in the dressing room with me, got makeup and hair done with me. He didn't leave my side the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. And everyone was so supportive of it. I didn't have a single person say anything negative about it, mm-hmm. which was amazing, because usually going out in public, I get a couple comments from people, but I didn't have anything. He went into the interviews with me. And the judges were so supportive of it. The judges were fine with it. They didn't seem to have any problems with him. Mm-hmm.
So you feel that having Brady there certainly boosted your confidence as well, mm-hmm. right? It was a team effort with both of you.
I will say it was quite the opposite in some aspects. I was embarrassed to have Brady with me because, as I say a lot, he is a walking caution sign that's sitting next to me. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, hey, look, everyone, she's disabled. And to me, that was kind of embarrassing to have on stage and my pictures taken. And it's different than everyone else. And I'm not like everyone else. And to me, that was a little embarrassing to have to rely on a dog to get through this. So in a way, he did bring me confidence. He boosted my confidence in the way that I would be safe being there. But being on stage with a service dog was terrifying. It did not make me confident.
At what point did you realize that you really were different from the other contestants and you learned to embrace that uniqueness and actually, shine because of it? Because you were different and you were unique and you sent a different message compared to the other contestants. Did you feel that during the pageant, did you learn to accept that and embrace that?
Yeah, so from the get-go, I knew I wasn't going to be like everyone else. I knew that it was going to be kind of a different situation for me. And I knew going into it that all of the girls knew what they were doing to begin with. And especially as far as Brady goes, I knew I was different. I've had to come to terms with that early on, even just in everyday life. But I didn't separate myself from the other girls in the pageant. I didn't look at myself as a separate entity. I saw myself as the same as them. And that definitely helped. We had a lot of time because it was 2 days long and I was on stage for a couple hours, yes, but we had hours and hours of rehearsals beforehand. And the whole time I made it a point to not separate myself from everyone else.
What kind of message did you give out to the audience, when you had the chance to speak during the pageant? What did you want to impart?
My main goal was to explain to people and to advocate for people with disabilities that it did not define who I was, and I was still successful despite having my epilepsy. And I did have a constant fear that I was going to seize on stage. That was a huge fear of mine. And I didn't. And I wanted to emphasize to the judges, to the audience itself, that it doesn't matter what my label is. I can still be successful despite that label. And I can still have goals. I can still have dreams, even though I have a label.
Just for clarification, let's say other young women who look up to you and who have disabilities and they want to enter the pageant scene as well. Do all pageants accept and encourage candidates with disability? Is it a case-to-case basis? Would you know specifically, Alison, if you're the first winner?
I wish I knew. I do. I know the woman putting it on, Jennifer, was amazing with it. She actually had a son with epilepsy, so I think there was kind of a special case there where she understood what I was going through. But I would like to believe that all pageants are accepting, but I'm not sure. I have heard of many people that have a similar situation where they are in pageantry and they're disabled, so I'm sure there are some that are like Miss Dallas where they're accepting. But I think it's a trial and error thing. I think if you don't get out there and try, there's no way of knowing.
And I think having this platform that that you're newly crowned and you have this opportunity to speak about it, I think it just opens doors and opens the discussion for people. And that's important as well. So earlier, I wanted to go back to what you were saying earlier, that you got some, I guess, hate online. Was that online when people were talking about, when we were talking about that moment, that kind of pivotal moment that somebody told you that you couldn't do it because of your disability? Why do you think people have that reaction, or some people have that reaction? Because a lot of people really are rooting for you, Alison.
Oh my gosh,
myself included, and are so inspired by your story, but I cannot kind of comprehend where the hate is coming from. But why do you think people have that reaction?
There's a lot of ignorance in this world, for sure. And even on a day-to-day basis, just having Brady out in public, I get a lot of comments from people that are very ignorant. I get comments all the time that are, "You don't look sick," or "Why would you have a service dog? You don't need a service dog." I've had people tell me that I'm faking my epilepsy or epilepsy isn't real. You name it, I've probably gotten the comment. So it's really no different, but it's online this time. And a lot of people don't want to believe the things people say.
Yeah.
So there's been one comment in particular
Yeah.
that was like, I know that didn't actually happen. No one ever said that to you. Nice try though. And a lot of people have been standing up for me in that comment section, which is adorable. They're all fighting for me. They're all on my side, but
Yeah.
I never asked for that. If you comment something rude, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to pay any attention to it. I'm just going to let it go, because at this point, if I responded to every negative comment, my fingers would fall off from typing.
That's true. And use that more as a, like you did with that comment that the lady had about you joining the pageant. Use that as motivation to succeed even further in life. And besides the beauty pageant scene, what I admire about you is that you also have different causes that you support. So tell us a little bit about all the notable causes that you promote and support, and now have a bigger platform to shed light for people to be aware of it.
So I do a lot of work with the Alzheimer's Association and Alzheimer's Impact Movement. I've been doing that since I was about 12 years old, and I now hold a lot of titles with them. I'm a spokesperson with the Alzheimer's Impact Movement, which works hand in hand with Congress to decide where Congress needs to spend their money. And it raises money for and gains awareness for caregivers. So I work with them a lot. I also am a co-chair of the Sherman-Denison, which is where I live, the Alzheimer's Walk up here, which is amazing. I got that out here 4 years ago, I think. And that walk has grown so much. Before I did the Grandscape Walk, I was something called the White Flower Speaker, which is just another version of a spokesperson. But I also am an archer with the Junior Olympics, and one of the teams I'm on is called Archers for Toby. We're a nonprofit that raises money for people to afford the costs of living with cancer, not necessarily the medications or the hospital expenses, but the childcare, so you can go get your medicine or your infusions, whatever. The parking tickets you get from hospitals, the nanny services, the food, all of that we help pay for. We recently got a couple dollars for a girl to get a service dog. We've raised money for her. And I'm actually, with the money y'all have kindly gifted to me, I'm using it to I've been working to start my own nonprofit where I help people pay for having a service dog. So there are a lot of grants out there that pay for you to get the dog.
Wow.
But after you get the dog, you still have expenses like vet bills and medicine and food and training. So what I'm working on doing is helping people afford that aspect of owning the dog, not just getting the dog. And that will start out here soon. I'm working with a couple different people along with the service dog school I'm with, and we're going to get that going. And I'm also I'm on the board of the Veteran Peer Network Walker House in my town. And what that is we help support veterans in our area. So it is essentially a home for veterans. You can come in, get coffee, eat, talk to people. We provide therapy services. We provide support groups. We do fundraising events, all of that. And it's just a home for veterans when they come back from overseas or even just in the country in general. And I help on the board with that. I am a volunteer for them, and that I've been doing for 4 years now. So
wow.
I've been doing a lot.
So much. Yeah. I was going to say, growing up, who were influences when it comes to charity work, when it comes to giving back? Did you grow up in an environment where that's natural to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did go to private school where giving back was a big part of it. But I also had an amazing family, and they have always made giving back just part of my lifestyle. It's always been at Christmas time, you give back, you help the homeless shelter, you buy gifts for kids in need. Just growing up in general, like I've always felt the need to give back, spending money on myself. as much as I do for myself, I also want to do for others.
That's great. That's so awesome. Wow. So the next step for you in the pageant scene is what? Is it
Miss Texas, yes.
Miss
Miss
Texas?
Texas teen. Yes.
Miss Texas teen. Okay. And when is this? This is in
It is in May. It's Memorial Day weekend.
Wow. Okay. So how are you preparing for it, Alison?
So preparations have already started, which is crazy for me. It's I am currently buying dresses and outfits, and it's so much more than I would have expected. It's a lot more preparation than I would have expected. There are walking coaches, interview coaches, hair and makeup coaches, mental managers, you name it, there's probably someone helping me with it.
Wow.
But as of right now, I'm trying just to focus on school, training Brady, sports, all of that. I'm trying to make my life in order. And right now, pageantry is not necessarily number one in my life.
Yeah.
School is. So I'm a senior in high school. So right now I'm trying to focus on school, which is very difficult with everything going on.
But I mean, you can juggle everything, and
I'm trying to.
With Brady by your side. And so,
yes.
Alison, I'm just so delighted to get to know you, the person that you are. You're beautiful. I mean, beyond the outside, you're really beautiful in the inside, and I can certainly see why so many people are drawn to you and are inspired by you. Even at such a young age, you have achieved so much. And so we at Just Wish Foundation, we just are rooting for you.
Thank you so much.
Wherever life takes you. And like you mentioned, we wanna support you with a monetary donation, and really hope that we could keep this relationship going. I know that you have more goals to accomplish in life, and we are here for you. We're rooting for you, and more power to you, Alison.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have met you.
All right. Thank you. Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Brady.